Today, we're having a chat with Quincy Councilor at Large Ann Mahoney because there's been a pretty major shakeup in the political war here in Quincy. Councilor Mahoney is now taking out nomination papers to run for mayor. Ann, how are you?
I'm very good, Joe. Thank you very much for having this meeting so quickly with me.
I was really happy to do it when I got the updated list of potential candidates. Bells went off. I said, I have to reach out to Ann right away because this really changes things.
It does. It does. You know, this is not something I take lightly. I took a long time to make this decision. Lots of people have been asking me, and it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, I love the city. I grew up here. I raised my family here, and I got into public service because of my children, because of my desire to want to stay here and to make my community better. And it has been just a joy to be able to do that. And honestly, I've been working very hard as a councilor at large, as you know. I'm trying to make sure we, have oversight in our government spending and development that meets our community's needs. And it's just a challenge in that situation. So I think I can bring something to the corner office that we can meet the needs of all of our community and making sure that everybody feels accounted for in the city of Quincy.
To that point about, concern for your children, you served on the school committee for 12 years as well.
I did. And I loved working on the school committee. It was a passion of mine. I can say honestly, when I first ran, it was first when you're looking at something like that about your schools, it's about what my children would get. And then what I realized, it's really about what all of our children are getting and making sure that every child in Quincy has an opportunity for, excellent public education. And that's what drew me right in. And I love the work that we do in the school committee. And I see some of the challenges that the schools are having right now. It's difficult to watch from where you sit. And when you know that I have skills that can work on the school committee as well as I have that can work in the leadership office at the executive office. And I want to bring those skills there so that I can work with all of our constituents here in the city of Quincy.
So let's talk about the decision if we can. I was wondering, you were the last holdout for taking out nomination papers for the incumbents. And I'm thinking, gosh, what's going on here? What ultimately drove you to decide to run for mayor?
So it's been a long journey to make this decision, and people have been asking me for a long time, and I really had to look back and really assess whether or not this was something that my family could do or whether or not it was the right thing for us to do. But the more people were asking and the more we started to realize that this is something that we really think it's not just about the people who live here now. It's about the people who are going to be moving here. It's about the generational people who lived here. It's about really making sure that we keep Quincy on the right track and we meet the needs of all of those people. And currently, there's a lot of people who are not feeling like their needs are being met. So my hope is to run a campaign where we're enlightening people and telling people about how we can build trust back in city government and really, work for the people who live here in the city of Quincy and the future people too. So it's not just about today, it's about the next generation too.
This will be your third attempt at mayor. What will you do differently? What did you learn from the first two attempts that you might change this time around?
Well, I think everybody learns from that. I don't think either of those attempts would be something that I always think we raised the bar. We brought plans to the table, and I saw some of those plans that we brought to the table executed. But this is really truly about making sure Quincy's moving in the right direction for the future for all of us. And what I really think is a grassroots campaign. It's not about any one particular person. It's really about our community and making sure that we have choice and making sure that we're putting the right choice into elective office so that we can move and grow together as a community. And the constituents will decide. We'll get our message out and we'll hopefully be able to earn everybody's vote and really ensure that people will know where their government money is being spent and how we're making these decisions for development that's happening in the community so that we all can feel like we know what's happening.
So obviously you'll have to give up your council seat to run for mayor. So is this, do or die, Ann, in the political world here in Quincy for you?
Well, it's a funny thing because you just never know what's going to happen. And I'm not focused on, I basically know that, and I think people would say to me, we want you to run for mayor. And then other people would say, we're concerned about you not being on the council. But I think the reality of it is we're at a crossroads right now where we really have to have these discussions, because if we don't, we just have to keep evolving in Quincy. Like anybody, we want to make sure that we're growing and we're prospering together, but we're understanding how we're getting there together. And that's what this campaign is really about, is talking about the issues that we have and moving our city in the right direction so that we can all be successful. So I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about the council seat because that will be taken care of by the people who serve in the council. And really, this is about making sure that our community has an opportunity to come out and vote for the direction of our city for the future.
So you mentioned folks being represented. Who do you feel is currently not being represented in the city?
It's not necessarily that somebody's not being represented. It's about choice to make sure that as we're going forward, that we're understanding where our money is being invested, how it's being spent, and then also how our development is being developed in the community, so that it's affecting all of us. Making sure that there's affordable housing for people, both the young people who are moving into our community, but also seniors who are living in our city, who are finding it very challenging to stay in the city of Quincy. So it's about all of those things. And when I say all of those things, it encompasses everybody who lives here. I think every one of those things is something that touches upon everybody who lives in our community. That, and when we talk about public transportation or transit situations, it's just leaving your home and driving down the street, talking about those types of things. They're all of those things combined, and it means everybody in the city of Quincy. So it's not about one group or another group. It's about all the people and how we are making those decisions and impacting people here.
So what kinds of things, I guess, would a Mahoney administration do differently than is currently being done when it comes to things like development, public safety, public education? Those are kind of the three pillars, I guess, of community service, right?
Yeah, so I think what that is, the difference there is just that I have a different way of approaching things. I don't want to compare myself and say I'm going to do something different or better than somebody else. It's just the way I bring different skill sets to the table. So this isn't really it's not about the current administration. It's really about the skill sets that I bring to the table, and about opening up and being able to show people where their money's being invested and how things are being done, and having them be a part of the solution as well.
So would there be more, I don't know, community meetings in your administration, more outreach?
I think I have to win this election before I can actually commit to the things that we're going to have. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves right now, Joe, but really what my hope is to really get the message out about the desire for Quincy, and the fact that we have these very issues that I've been dealing with in the city council, from government oversight and government spending, which I think that's top of mind for a lot of people here in the city of Quincy, to also the development that's happening and making sure it fits with our community's needs. So and then of course our schools, our public schools, all of those things are the pieces, those are the pillars of what we're talking about. But it's really about what I can bring to the table to make sure that we're able to communicate that out to people. So rather than getting into the nitty-gritty of what I'll do when I'm there, it's really about really getting the message out that this is about really securing our future for the city of Quincy.
Okay, can we talk a bit about what you feel maybe are some of your successes on the city council?
Sure. I think some of my successes on the city council have been asking some of those tough questions, and sometimes it makes people feel a little bit uncomfortable when you ask those questions, but sometimes they reveal the very thing that we need to fix too. I know for a fact some of the questions that I've asked in the city council, I've seen things get cleaned up the next day. I've seen things move. I've seen things change by just asking those questions. So it's not always, it may come across as maybe somebody asking tough questions, but sometimes you have to ask those tough questions to be able to get those results that we're doing as well. But there's many things that have happened in the city council too that I've absolutely been in agreement with. So it's not, again, what about the one particular thing that I've done. It's about how we work together as a community, both on the city council and in the administration's office.
Do you think that Quincy is headed in the right direction in terms of new growth and development?
I think Quincy's on the right track for many things, but we have to be very careful. Again, I'll go back to affordable housing. We don't ever talk about affordable housing. We just talk about more units. And it's really about combining those things to make sure that we're meeting the needs of everybody in the city of Quincy and the community.
When you say affordable housing, do you mean government housing or private
No,
investment?
Affordable housing does not mean Section 8 housing. Affordable housing means, the people who work in our community, young people, young kids that are getting out of college, can't afford to live in Quincy. $3,000, $4,000 a month apartments are really unattainable for most children of our kids that are growing up in the city. Most of us who have kids who are graduating from college right now can't afford to live in Quincy or the surround. New teachers who are coming in to work for the Quincy Public Schools, police officers who have to live in our community. These are very, most of them are living at their parents' homes, but that's not where they want to be. They want to be independent on their own. So it's really about creating that balance. And currently right now, all of the development that we have puts money into a trust for affordable housing rather than accommodating for affordable housing. It's the balance of those things. We don't have, if you retire in the city of Quincy right now, we have no place for seniors to go for 55 plus or older. They have to leave our community to do that. These are the things that we need to really master plan out if we're going to be able to do these things for the future.
Okay. What will your campaign look like, Anne, going forward from here?
Well, as it is a very grassroots campaign. So, we're asking people if they're interested to join us at votemahoney.com, sign up, and we will get you activated, and we will get you out there, and we will all work together to make this change happen.
One of the things you may inherit if you do win is the Quarry Hills lease proposal. And I know you've had concerns about that. What would you change?
Well, I think the most important thing would be to open up that dialogue to make sure that the city of Quincy and the taxpayers are being represented. Right now, I'm not sure if that is the case. I think we need to we have to look closely at what we're doing with that lease. But again, that's in the city council's hands at the moment. And I'm happy to have those discussions as we go forward. And if I inherit it, we'll have those conversations and make sure that it works for our community.
You mentioned public transportation. It's a key one, certainly for a lot of folks here in
Mhm.
Quincy. Do you feel comfortable working with the current state administration with public transportation?
Absolutely. And I think it's something that we have to be very close on. And being a person who actually uses the MBT, I actually know what those struggles are. Sometimes, when we haven't, we have to really look at those sorts of things and understand. I mean, I've been a commuter for the last 30 years, Joe. So I understand the struggles. I know what it was like before they even started touching it. It wasn't as bad as it is right now. But the reality of it is those things, if you really want Quincy to thrive and grow, we have to be staying on top of that. We've been waiting for the downtown Quincy Central Station to be done for a long time. We have to advocate for those things.
As you're aware, the city just hired its first community liaison for diversity, equity, inclusion. Do you
Yes,
see
I
that
know
as a
Damien.
positive step?
I do. I think, and Damien's a great guy. He's a great person. I'm so excited that he was brought on, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he gets to do. It's not a one and done though. It's something that is important for the city of Quincy. I'm happy to see that's done. And I'm looking forward to working with him.
Yeah. How long have you been on the council now, Ian?
This is the end of my third term, so I'm just finishing up my 6th year. So
Okay. Do you think the term should stay 2 years, or should they match the mayoral term of 4 years?
That's not a decision that I would be making in my mayoral campaign at this point. I'm not sure. I think what we'd have to look at is the charter, really to see what things they need to be updated and how we can better serve our community. Because really, that's why I'm running. At the end of the day, my calling was to run for school committee, and then I ran for council, and now I'm running for mayor. And yes, this is a different attempt though, because what I really truly believe is that Quincy is a city that's on the verge, and we need to make sure that we keep it on the right track and grow it for both the people who live here, as I said, the generational people, and the new people who lived here in the next generation to come.
For folks, there are new arrivals coming to the city all the time and might not be familiar with you or your public service. What would you like them to know about this campaign?
Just that I'm here, that I'm welcoming, and that I'm excited that they're here in Quincy, and I want to get to know them, and I hope they want to get to know me too, and I'm always available.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share right now?
Just that I'm very excited. It was a long process to come here, and it was a beautiful morning when I woke up, and I did talk to the mayor this morning. He was the first person to know that I was going to be coming into City Hall. I wanted to give him that courtesy of knowing that I'd be doing this, because I think I will say the one thing that I can agree, and I think he can too, is that we both have a love and a desire for the city of Quincy to be successful. And we both want what's best for our community. We just have different ways of looking at how we're going to do that. Mine's more in a transparent, open, and express way that people can understand where their money is being invested. And, and it's the direction that I think that we need to go in.
How would you describe the conversation that you had with him?
I always have pleasant conversations with the mayor. I mean, I truly do consider him a fellow colleague and somebody that, that we can always talk to each other.
And great to talk to you, and look forward to working with you throughout your campaign.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk.